Employers and managers who had to fire their best employee. What happened? Had a guy who would work his butt off daily, inputting data into spreadsheets, would come in, put in solid hours of actual work, not goofing off. He would literally get 4 times as much stuff done a week as anyone else in the office. After 3 weeks straight of this, other people start to take notice and occasionally ask him to help out when they're behind, and he obliges. This gets worse and worse. And eventually, people are basically just walking all over him while they spend all day Facebooking and whatnot, because he won't say no if they ask him to help with their work. The dude just keeps trucking through and through. About 4 months into working there, it's gotten to the point where you can hear the extra witch girls talking about leaving early and not getting in trouble, because he'll just do all the work for us if we ask anyway. Well, the guy goes into the boss's office, and I work right next to it, so I can hear more or less the entire conversation. I'm paraphrasing, but it went something like this. I would like a raise. I'm doing way too much work for how much I'm getting paid. Everyone else who works here is just lazy. I even have people making jokes about how I'll do their work for them and they'll get paid for it. Well, name, I can sympathize with you, but you have to understand I can't just give you a raise. If I give you a raise, I would have to explain to everyone why you got a raise and they didn't. You could tell them it's because I'm doing half of their work for them while they look at stupid memes. I'm sorry, name. It just wouldn't work out well. Well then, is there any positions available above mine that I could apply for a promotion to? I don't think we can really look into a promotion this early into you working here. We would need time to properly evaluate your work ethic. Seriously? You seriously just said that to me? I'm not going to break my back doing an entire office's work for a company that doesn't give 2 poos about me. You and this entire office can just go frick themselves. He walks out of the office fuming mad and yells, "Hey everyone! Boss just denied my raise, so no more leaving work early for any of you lazy frickheads. 'Cause I frickin' quit." It was like a scene from The Office Space, only in real life. See, I don't get that from the boss. Like, the reason he wants a raise is because he's doing everyone else's work in the office, and you can quite clearly see that. So surely the others will understand why he's getting the raise and they're not. It just makes no sense to me. Why would they expect a raise if they know someone is doing their work for them? Surely they'd just let him get the raise so that he can carry on doing their work and they can just chill. It could have ended happily. I used to work for Dell back in 1998 to 2000 in their sales department. This is just right before people ordered online, so it was still a call center. To make a really long story short, I was one of their best sales reps, top 3 every month. I was making about $5,000 a week as a 23-year-old. They dedicated to replace me and most of my team with temps, making $11 an hour and no commissions. Only I didn't know this. I was given a great opportunity to train a new class of incoming salespeople. Little did I know, I was training our replacements. Once they hit the floor and were running, they fired me and about 200 other salespeople. Frick Dell. Oh, then a few years later, even the temps got fired so they could move all those jobs to a call center in India. Had the greatest waiter, Robert. Fricker could run circles around the entire staff. He knew the kitchen as well, could jump in at any point and prep and assist if we got backed up, and still tend to his tables. Idiot put a $3 bottle of white Zinfandel in his backpack, right in front of a security camera, and while the owner was sitting at the bar eating. He was a student and working part-time. He had to be bringing in $300 to $500 cash in a week. Ugh, bless him. Like, okay, it was an idiot move, but everyone makes mistakes. Give him a second chance. Corporate set a trap and baited him into stealing. He was a great guy, fun and interesting, easy to get along with. He would volunteer to take the early shifts and open the store. He'd receive the new inventory and stock the shelves himself. His cash was always correct and he never did anything wrong, until he did. One morning, he opened the new stock shipment and loaded the shelves. There was an extra item in the box that wasn't listed on the manifest. The correct procedure was to add it to inventory and put it on the shelf. He instead opted to claim it wasn't there and took it home. The perfect crime, right? I had to fire him the next day, and it sucked. We hire a lot of people in recovery who are part of the drug court program under the condition that they will be terminated if they go back to jail for drug/alcohol charges. This co-worker was our hardest worker and always picked up shifts and got tons of compliments. So it really sucked when she relapsed and failed her P-test with drug court. She got sent to jail for a week and we had to fire her. I still kept in touch with her, and when I found out she was pregnant, I convinced my boss to hire her back. One last chance. I'm so happy I wasn't wrong, because she's about to celebrate her 4th year of sobriety and now she's management. Oh yes, a positive, happy story. Round of applause please, gang. Everyone join me in a round of applause. He was one of my best weekend workers. Dependable, always on time, really good at his job. I got a call from my management on July 4th saying, "We're going to need to find a replacement for name." I say, "Why? Did he find a better job?" My management, "No, he was arrested for murder last night." So let's just say I didn't have the chance to fire him. I was dumbfounded when I got that call. Not me, but I was working in retail, and one of the customer service guys was being groomed for management. He'd been there for a while, was trusted to count money and with the safe combination, opened if managers couldn't, etc. He was a cool black guy. His race is important to the story, but a bit cocky and arrogant. My cousin also worked there, who was also cocky and arrogant. Anyway, my cousin put in his 2 weeks, but wasn't being a bad employee. My cousin didn't like the soon-to-be manager because they were pretty similar in a lot of ways, and they clashed because of it. On my cousin's last week, unprovoked, he approaches the guy and says, "You look like a big black idiot." The guy walks up to my cousin, puts his finger to his head and says, "Do you have a problem with me?" It ended there with my cousin walking away, then reporting he was threatened. Because a finger made contact, the guy was fired. My cousin was an idiot and didn't regret it and laughed about it with my other friends. Okay, no. Your cousin should have been fired. What an absolute beep. Like, that's not his fault. If you're going to approach someone in that disgusting manner, then of course they're going to defend themselves. Like, fire the cousin, you nutters. Happened to a coworker. Working at a bank, my branch had the biggest superstar in the state, always crushing sales numbers. He generated more revenue than the rest of the branch combined. He set up a really big business account presentation, but his mother died literally on the same day he was supposed to give the talk. Branch manager stepped in, held the presentation. The guy built everything up. It was essentially a done deal. Branch manager just had to get a signature on the paperwork. Obviously feeling bad for him, thinking he deserved the credit, they booked the deal under his name the next day. Technically, to get credit for a deal, you have to be there at signing. Both were fired within a week for sales manipulation. Awful use of the rules. Yep, the biggest joke is he was always being courted by our rivals due to his performance. Another bank snapped him right up, so it really was our company's loss. He was our fastest forklift operator. The guy could get a truck loaded in 7 to 15 minutes. But he started developing a pooey attitude, and we just couldn't work with him. The new operators we have take 30 to 45 minutes to get a truck loaded, and they're legitimately a little dumb and have a hard time reading. I don't know if it was worth it. Probably developed an attitude because he was tired of getting paid the same as those who take twice as long as him. This is it. I'm in the military and cannot control my guy's pay or promotion, but I will do whatever it takes within my control to reward outstanding behaviour. If that's heading home early, a write-up for an award, or the better job when jobs are divided up. Otherwise, you get the, "Why would I bust my butt turning up to work when the rest of the crew is smoking and joking?" The 3 basic military motivators are free chow, free time, and not having an idiot for a first-line supervisor. I always made a point of showing my guys that I was willing to get down and do the things I asked of them. I sent them home early, mission permitting, and every once in a while I'd buy them lunch. I had a few knuckleheads, for sure, but the most I barely had to ask for help before it started raining men like a disco night drag show. Yeah, I mean, so you should. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have to get some reward for good behaviour at work or smashing our job or something. So I completely agree. I'd do the same if I was in that position. I work in retail. One of the staff from checkouts was amazing and would come up and help us in our cafe constantly. She was fast, friendly with customers, and we would get so many compliments. We asked if we could have her up here permanently. She stole a pen. Security had her on camera. Fired immediately. Pen was a fancy pen, packaged on shelf to be sold. She was right under the security camera stealing it. Security saw, told higher management, and I don't really think stealing, regardless what of, can just be ignored. I believe they probably did it to scare employees, like, this is what happens if... Top manager for retail job I worked at lost her keys to the store that also had the keys to all the registers on the keyring. The registers started going short, or would be empty aside from the change and dollar bills in the drawer. This went on for months. Corporate found out after installing a new set of security cameras overnight without her knowledge. She enlisted a group of sales associates to do most of the dirty work, but they found out she was the ringleader when they found out all the sales associates would bring her the stolen money and she would dole it out after taking her cut. Okay, that one's pretty serious. That's an actual crime. So yeah, she should have been fired. Geez, some people have the biggest nuts around. Like, I could just never. Not that I'd want to, at all, but people are just brave. I wasn't the manager, but we had a supervisor who was a rising star in the company. Turned a struggling operation into one that was running well under budget. and was generally easy to work with. We also had a mechanic who was a lazy sack of poo and nobody could ever find him. So one day, the operations manager was looking at the security footage trying to figure out what the mechanic was actually doing and caught him selling pills out of his truck in the parking lot. So he called the police. When the police showed up, the mechanic was in his truck in the middle of selling drugs to the supervisor. They were both fired. The operation went from under budget to being $50,000 to $100,000 over for the next few months. Part of my job is to process expense reports from the sales department. I noticed one month that the top salesman had claimed a plane ticket expense twice, once when he booked it and then again when he took the flight months later. I reviewed his past expenses and noticed he was doing this regularly. When he booked the flight originally, he would claim the full amount of the ticket. Then when he used the flight, he would claim each leg of the trip as a separate daily expense so that the receipt amounts wouldn't match so as to avoid detection. This is how I figured out he was doing it intentionally. I showed the evidence to the CEO and he was gone the next week. I only went back 3 years, but he stole about $10,000 over those 3 years. Worked in a restaurant at a hotel chain. Management regularly found meaningless reasons to suspend various employees or cut hours. This one guy had been there almost 13 years. Clients loved him. Staff appreciated his presence, and he often came to the rescue of anyone requiring help. Everyone could depend on him, and he supported everyone. He had, like everyone in a restaurant, bumped heads with management now and again, like everyone. On one particular season, they decided they were going to groom him in the eventuality to take on more responsibility. His position would eliminate his right to tips, but it came with insurance, a retirement plan, and steady pay. He had kids, was in his mid-40s. It all made sense why someone would take that job. He would, however, no longer be in the union. Fast forward to the day after his training is complete. The guy comes in with his management uniform and all. Some waiter calls in sick, and instead of him calling in another employee, he decides he was going to handle a few tables and the management responsibility. At the end of the shift, the hotel manager summons the guy into his office, like the boss of his boss. They fired him straight away. He was escorted out of the building and our boss said there were strict rules and management working tables harmed the hotel's image. It was complete BS. He'd maybe taken 2 tables and split the rest amongst the rest of the staff. Everyone basically agreed they promoted him just to get him out of the union to be able to fire him. A number of employees left shortly after for other various reasons. It was a sort of shaking up the coop, and anyone who wouldn't fall in line would be shown the door. Today, that restaurant no longer exists. They closed down maybe 2 years later, rebranded the restaurant from American Steakhouse to Italian/French dining. New cooks, new waiters, new management. It was just sort of the catalyst, or the first domino. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos coming daily.